The world is an infinitely curious place. Just when you think you've wrapped your head around it, you'll discover something shocking. There are some places on our humble little Earth that will blow your tiny human mind. These are 20 real places on Earth that seem scientifically impossible.
Number 20. Pohnani Beach Sand Strip. Now, allow me to get just a little bit biblical with you, because one of the most popular Bible stories is that of Moses as he leads his people out of Egypt. Then, with Pharaoh and his armies hot on his heels, he, through the power of God, splits the Red Sea, exposing the land and allowing the people through before wiping out Pharaoh's forces. Now, why do I mention this? Well, because in one place it actually happened in a much more natural way. The residents of Pohnani in Kerala's Malappuram were in for a pleasant surprise after the water from recent floods receded. A new island-like structure had surfaced along their beach. The narrow sand strip, which is well over half a kilometer long, literally split the sea into two. Does it sound familiar? You know, perhaps from the story I just told you? Now, naturally, this place became a wonder of the area, and of course, a place that people wanted to walk on from end to end, because this kind of thing doesn't just pop up out of nowhere on a normal basis. Or at least, it's not really supposed to. The other thing I need to mention here is that when the floodwaters came, this strip of land wasn't actually there. It wasn't like what sometimes happens in heavy flood areas where a spot of land rises and falls with the waters. This was just never there before. But it was there, and it happened in 2018. So, what exactly did happen? Well, the biggest theory is that when the massive floods came, it brought a lot of sand with it, and then deposited it on the beach, so when the waters left, the sand and land remained. Believe me when I say weirder things have happened due to floods.
Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Now it's time for the sweet topic. Did you know that there can be sinkholes on top of mountains? Well, there are in these table-topped mountains that sit near Venezuela's border with Brazil. Not many mountains have sinkholes in them, but this one does. 4 of them, in fact, and they're massive. The things make this place one of the strangest ones out there. These are entirely natural and were first spotted in 1961 by a pilot named Harry Gibson. Despite this, a proper expedition to explore them was not even possible until 1974, and all these years later, we still don't truly understand what these holes are or why they exist. As always, comment down below using the hashtag #SweetTopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed you on the screen.
Number 19. The Boiling River. The next one's going to get you a little hot under the collar, pun intended. Once upon a time, there was an explorer by the name of Andre Rousseau, and what did he do? Well, he heard a legend about a river that was quite literally boiling, and thus went to seek it out. Not only did he seek it out, he found it in South America, and it's absolutely something that shouldn't exist, however it does. It's called the Chanay Tempishka, and has been known to the native people of Peru who live in the forest for quite a while. Now, if you're wondering why it's referred to as the Boiling River, that would be because the temperature of the water is a scorching 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. Even the mud that's made from this water is hot, and you'd get third-degree burns if you decided to touch it. So I don't really recommend doing that. And even now, there's no logical reason as to why the river is this way. But trust me, people have speculated as to why it could be like this. Some think that the river is somehow attached to a geothermal vent, which exudes a lot of heat and thus makes it boil to such a degree. There's also a thought that the boiling water comes from somewhere else and is pooled into the river. Good ideas, but neither have been definitely proven, so thus the mystery of this impossible place continues on. Not that the locals really care for the reason behind the hot water, they just like having it. They use it for boiling food and doing laundry and other things, and they don't even think about it. They just accept it, which is a wise action indeed. Number 18. The Petrifying Well. Yes, I'm still doing some water stories, but trust me when I say that like the last one, this place of water has one heck of a twist involved. If you look at history and mythology, you'll come across quite a few tales about entities being turned into stone, mainly by a certain woman with snakes for hair, but I digress. You'd think that these were just scary stories that you tell to freak people out, right? Well, in North Yorkshire, there's a place that honestly does this for real. It's known as the Petrifying Wall, and it's been turning things to stone for hundreds of years, having been an attraction since 1630 in England. Now, if you want to go there, great, but you'll have to leave me out of it. Also, a fun fact is that this well was next to a cliff face, one that appeared to have had a face of a skeletal human on it. So, when you add that visual with the power of the well to turn things into stone, you get a place that many would say is, well, evil, for lack of a better word. But is this really a place where you'll get turned to stone if you touch the water? Yes, but also no. There are a few steps involved. After an investigation, it would be found that the water was high in mineral content, so by leaving various objects in the well, which many have done over the years, the water will slowly turn them into stone. This process has been likened to how stalactites are made. And that's the trick here, because you can touch the water and not be turned to stone, but if you give it enough time, then you might have a more rock-hard skin than you would like. Number 17. Lake Karachi. Now, why would you think that I'm done talking about bodies of water? I'm on a roll here, and not unlike the last one, this is a place that you'd want to look at from a distance. But unlike the last one, this is a place that I definitely recommend you don't touch, ever. Well, why? Because Lake Karachi is in Russia and is known as the world's most radioactive lake. Period. Don't believe that statement? Well, in less than an hour, you could receive a lethal dose of radiation should you go swimming. That's not a lot of time when you really think about it. Also, it means that just by being near the lake, you're in danger of radiation poisoning. And that's not fun. So how in the world could it happen? Well, sadly, it was during a time when nuclear waste wasn't exactly disposed of in the most efficient or scrupulous of manners. Yes, you guessed it, they dumped it right into the lake. Clearly because no one was using it that day, right? That level of radioactive pollution did a lot of damage, and that includes actually helping the lake to dry up. Oh yes, that's right. There's no water in this lake anymore. But if you think that this means problem solved, well, not so fast. Because remember, a lake isn't just water, it's the land that holds the water. So the radioactive material is actually seeped into the soil, and when the lake dried up, the dust was full of radioactive stuff. Do you know what happens to dust when such material gets caught by the wind? Well, that's right, it gets blown all over the place and then infects people in nearby towns. Good job, Russia! Number 16. Gruner Sea. No, I did not misspeak that last title. It is really called Sea with 2 E's. This place is in Austria. They spell a lot of things differently. Just sue me if you don't like it. The translation for Gruner Sea is the Green Lake, thus continuing the tour of all things aquatic. However, this is yet another body of water that has a very interesting twist to it that honestly brings a lot of tourists to the table in certain seasons. What's the twist, you may ask? Well, it has to do with the water levels. Specifically, this lake has a very interesting habit of getting a lot of water at certain points in its year, like when the water rises a whole lot. To break this down, when the lake is at its natural level, if you will, in the off-season, the depth of it is about 7 feet. That's a pretty nice depth and a good swimming spot. But when spring comes, oh boy, does the water rise. And that leads to the depth of the lake getting up to anywhere around 39 feet deep. That's right, this lake grows so much that the depth multiplies by over a factor of 5. Oh, and if you think I'm kidding, well, wouldn't that affect all the land around the lake? lake, you say. You'd be right, because